Welcome to Storytime. Enjoy with me. Marcel and the Shakespeare Letters by Stephen Rabley.
Marcel looks into the dark flat. "Come with me," he says. He climbs into the old women's flat. Henry is behind him. The two mice run across the floor. Then they climb up a table. On the table, there's a yellow light and a small white notepad. Marcel looks at it under the light. "What are you doing?" Henry asks. Marcel doesn't answer. Then he says, "Aha! I was right. Can you see?" Henry smiles. "Yes, I can. Not very well, but it says Concord 7:20. Marcel puts down the notepad and looks at his watch. It's 6 o'clock. Then he starts to run down the leg of the table. Henry runs down the leg of the table too. "Where are we going now?" he asks. "Heathrow Airport, of course," Marcel says. At 6:05, the two mice are in Old Wilton Street. It's dark and cold. They walk quickly to Knightsbridge Station. There are a lot of fireworks. Bang! Whee! Pop! Whoosh! Marcel watches them. Then he remembers the very big bang in the professor's flat. That was clever, he thinks. Very, very clever. There are hundreds of people at Knightsbridge Station. Marcel and Henry run under their legs and bags. Marcel can hear a noise. "Quick, Henry," he says. "A train's coming." He's right. A train is coming into the station. A sign on the front of it says, "Heathrow." The doors open and the mice get on. There are 15 stations before Heathrow. Every time, the train stops. Henry says, "Quick, quick! What are we waiting for?" Then the doors close and the train starts again. At Heathrow, the mice get off. Marcel looks left and right. "Where do we go now?" he asks. "I don't know," Henry says. He looks left and right too. There are a lot of signs. Then suddenly, Henry smiles. "Marcel, look! That blue sign says Concord." "Good," Marcel says. He looks at his watch. It's 7:10. "Let's go," he says. The mice start to run again. "Marcel," Henry says, "what are we going to do? Okay, we find the woman. But then what do we do? How do we get the letters back?" Marcel smiles. "Wait and see," he says. They come to a door. It says, "Concord," but it's closed. Henry and Marcel stop in front of it. "Oh, no," says Henry. But then 2 men with big bags open the door and go in. The mice go in too. Good, Marcel says. He looks at the people in the room. Now, can you see her? No, I can't, Henry says. Marcel smiles. I can, he says. Where? There, in front of us. Henry looks. Marcel is right. The American woman is sitting on a chair and listening to her Walkman. She's reading a newspaper, too. Her bag is on the floor. Okay, let's go, Marcel says. He takes a small knife from his coat. Walk behind me, Henry, but be very, very quiet. He starts to walk across the room. Henry walks behind his friend. Marcel's a detective, he thinks. It's going to be okay. He knows his job. He does this every day. Yes. It's going to be okay. Marcel stops in front of the American woman's bag. He looks at Henry. Shh, he says. Wait here. Then he climbs up the bag. After a short time, he starts to make a hole in it with his knife. Henry watches. His mouth is open. He looks at the American woman. She's listening to music and reading. She doesn't look down. Marcel climbs into the bag. It's dark. He closes his eyes and opens them again. Now he can see some jeans, a radio, some books. Then, suddenly, he sees the Shakespeare letters. Good, he thinks. He puts the letters on his back and starts to climb down again. Henry sees him and smiles. But then the mice hear a noise. Bing bong. The American woman looks at her watch. Then she takes off her Walkman and starts to put it in her bag. Hey, she says. What? 2 mice? What's this? Quick, Henry, catch, Marcel says. He gives the letters to Henry. Then he climbs down the bag. The mice run very quickly with the Shakespeare letters. They can hear the American woman behind them. She's running very quickly too. The door is open. A man is coming in. He's fat, and he has 2 bags. The mice run under his legs. Then Marcel hears a big noise. He looks behind him. The American woman is on the floor, and the man is talking to her. Sorry, he says. Are you okay? The woman stands up. No, she says. Then she looks for the mice, but she can't see them. At 9 o'clock, Marcel and Henry are back at Professor Barton's flat in Old Wilton Street. They're very happy. Marcel is sitting on the table. The Shakespeare letters are in front of him. He's reading them. Henry is standing at the window. He's watching the fireworks. Suddenly, he sees a man in a brown coat. It's Professor Barton. He's coming home. The professor is smiling. Then he walks into his flat, and suddenly he stops smiling. Marcel and Henry are standing behind a chair. They watch him. He goes to the safe. It's open. He looks in it and says, "Oh, no." Then he sees the Shakespeare letters on the table. But he puts one hand on his head. "I don't understand." He looks at the safe. Then he looks at the letters. And then he looks at the safe again. "Why are the letters here?" he says. "When? How? I don't understand." In the morning, Henry and Marcel go to the British Museum. It's a cold day, and it's raining. In the museum, there are a lot of journalists and TV people. They're waiting for Professor Barton. He arrives at 10 o'clock. "Good morning," he says to them. He starts to talk about the Shakespeare letters. Then he gives the letters to a man from the museum. "Thank you very much, Professor," the man says. Henry and Marcel are standing at the back of the room. Henry smiles at his French friend. "And thank you, Marcel," he says.
The end.